massive extinction event 250 million years ago seems to have had multiple causes. The End Permian Mass Extinction, EPME, a mass extinction event wiping out 80 to 90% of land and sea species. Researchers identify a new contributing factor to this extinction event, known as the Great Dying. It was the most severe extinction event our planet had ever seen, and research identified a series of huge volcanic eruptions as primary cause of the event: volcanic ash, increasing temperatures, carbon dioxide levels, atmosphere, ocean acidification. And this is what the Science Advances article says. The felsic volcanism as a factor driving the End Permian massive extinction. The Siberian traps large igneous provinces, STLIP, is commonly invoked as a primary driver of global environmental changes triggering the End Permian mass extinction, EPME. And they said here we explore the contributions of coeval felsic volcanism to End Permian environmental changes. We report evidence of extreme Cu enrichment in the EPME interval in South China. The enrichment is associated with an increase in light copper isotope, Cu isotope, melt inclusions rich in copper and sulfides, and mercury Hg concentration spikes. The copper and mercury elemental and isotopic signatures can be linked to sulfur-rich vapor produced by felsic volcanism. We use these previously unknown geochemical data to estimate volcanic sulfur dioxide injections and argue that this volcanism would have produced several degrees of rapid cooling. Kindly support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box. So the sulfur dioxide injections would have caused rapid cooling. This is what they want to do now to our atmosphere. Sulfur dioxide, adding sulfur dioxide to cool our Earth. So this is what happened at that time. Rapid cooling before or coincident with the more protracted global warming. Large-scale eruptions near the South China block, synchronous with the EPME, strengthened the case that the STLIP may not have been the sole trigger. The End Permian mass extinction event was the most severe extinction event in the past 500 million years, with estimated losses of over 81% of marine and over 89% of terrestrial species. Robust evidence supported by high-precision uranium-lead dating suggests that the Permian was triggered by a over 4 times 10 to the 6 kilometer square kilometer volcanic eruption of the Siberian traps, large igneous provinces. That is, of course, not Serbian, Siberian. Sorry about that. Siberian traps in Russia, today's Russia, Siberia. The large igneous provinces, you know, these things would erupt for hundreds of years to thousands of years. It's been proposed that the STLIP eruptions, Siberian traps, large igneous provinces, eruptions released a massive amount of greenhouse and also poisonous gases, such as carbon dioxide, sulfur dioxide, leading to rapid warming, perturbing global carbon and sulfur cycles, potentially causing acid rain deposition, and ultimately expanded anoxic euxitic zones in the oceans. In other words, there was not enough oxygen in the oceans, so of course marine life had to die. In this scenario, a combination of these factors led to the loss of land plants and the widespread extinction of tetrapods, four-legged animals. The links among the global carbon cycle, climate change, and mass extinction are recorded in the global scales of 5 to 8 per mil. Negative shift in both through the mass extinction intervals. although the Siberian traps large ignimbrite provinces STLIP scenario has been widely accepted. Temporal links between the massive extinction and volcanism were largely based on sedimentary records from South China, specifically high-resolution isotope dilution, thermal mass spectrometry. The uranium-lead dates from 2 volcanic ash beds at the Meishan section. The Permian-Triassic boundary, PTB, interval, also associated with mercury and mercury isotope anomalies likely linked to volcanic eruptions. And these anomalies have been used to argue for a causal link between the Permian and the Siberian traps large igneous provinces. The Siberian region does not contain direct fossil data or sedimentary geochemical profiles correlative with other PTB sections, Permian-Triassic boundary sections. Nonetheless, the correlation in timing and the magnitude of the Siberian traps has led many to interpret it as the primary cause of the Permian-Triassic extinction. Geochronological studies suggest that the Siberian traps large igneous provinces started about 300,000 years before the end of the Permian interval and persisted for 500,000 years after the extinction, with the main extinction occurring within an interval of 61 to plus or minus 48 Ka in 1,000 years. Now, by contrast, in the Siberian traps region, recent studies show an earlier prolonged biodiversity decline pattern or no distinct extinction before the Siberian traps. So there was a decline in life in animal and plant life before these eruptions. In addition, more than 1/3 of the erupted volcanic rocks and the entire Siberian traps intrusive magnetism postdated the Permian horizon. These constraints reduced the volume of CO2 that could possibly have been injected into the atmosphere ocean system during the Permian. These uncertainties have led to suggestion that outgassing from the Siberian traps large igneous provinces alone may have been insufficient to trigger the global climate and environmental changes associated with the end of the Permian extinction. Here we document evidence for extensive felsic volcanic activity coincident with the mass extinction, foremost from anomalous copper enrichment and large negative copper isotope delta 65 Cu. Shifts at 4 widely dispersed terrestrial Permian extinction sections in southwest China. Our data includes terrestrial extinction patterns, organic carbon isotopes Cu and mercury Hg, concentrations and isotopes, widespread distribution of coeval volcanogenetic material, and geochemical analysis of melt inclusions in volcanogenic materials from the EPME interval. This evidence is best interpreted as a result of vast explosive super-eruptions from a continental volcanic arc associated with the opening of the Neotethys or closure of the Paleotethys. That's today's Mediterranean Sea. Translating these data into estimates of sulfur dioxide injection and temperature changes, we suggest that felsic volcanism in South China was a key contributor to the environmental deterioration that led to the Permian extinction. Now, during the geological background, this is a very long paper, but I'll just go slightly into it. During the Permian Triassic extinction, South China block was situated in the tropical eastern Paleotethys and accumulated the most complete PTB record. Most previous PTB studies focused on marine sedimentary records with few studies of terrestrial records. The geochronological, geochemical, paleoclimate proxy data, along with extinction patterns and marked changes in terrestrial deposition systems' widespread volcanogenic materials, established links between volcanism and end of the Permian on land. The 4 terrestrial Permian section discussed are the Gonbajong, Lubei, and Tashojing sections in Yunnan, section in Sichuan, South China. The relevant strata in these sections are the Lopingjian Chiwei Formation, the Permian Triassic Transition, Kayitu Formation, and the Lower Triassic Donshu Formation. They were deposited in swamp and shallow lacustrine environments and a calm, ever-flooded aqueous environment to semi-arid alluvian floodplains. Now, okay, this is going down to a little bit later, the results. They took a total of 128 samples, analyzed for a full suite of major and trace elements, and they calculated the various elements. Copper sulfides, a total of 64 samples of 4 sections analyzed from copper sulfides, and mercury concentrations. The primary depositional signature of the copper anomalies, and copper and mercury anomalies. And again, I'm going fast over this. Is a very, very detailed thing. So basically, they found that it was not just the volcanic gases and the ash. It was something that caused the decrease of life on land and sea that was taking place before the volcanic eruptions of the large igneous provinces of the Siberian traps. And they said now, together, the copper and mercury isotope system suggests a substantial degree of volatilization, degassing from magma upon volcanic eruption. The highly negative values, large range of increase of copper and mercury values suggest that a massive eruption resulted in a notable volatile flux. This is further corroborated by taking into account the total mass of mercury in the deposits compared to mercury sulfur dioxide expected for degassing during large explosive eruptions, resulting in a notable flux of degassing sulfur dioxide comparable in magnitude as past super-explosive silicic volcanism events. This is on science.org. Please leave a comment and thank you for your support.